8 famous professional athletes with multiple sclerosis in no particular order. Number 1, Stan Belinda. This right-handed relief pitcher had a 12-year major league career, and he was a trusted high-leverage reliever who was primarily known as a setup man for various teams including the Pittsburgh Pirates and Cincinnati Reds. He threw a high fastball and split-finger fastball and was trusted to pitch the clutch innings, and even once pitched an immaculate inning. This is an exceedingly rare feat of striking out all 3 batters in the inning on 3 pitches each, and has only been achieved 116 times in Major League history, and is even more rare than a no-hitter. He did famously concede the game-winning hit in Game 7 of the 1992 National League Championship Series, but overall he was effective in the playoffs with a career postseason ERA of less than 1. After his best season in 1997, he developed tingling in the arms and legs and was diagnosed with MS at the Mayo Clinic. He used the drug Copaxone, which at the time was a once-daily injection, and by modern standards, this would be regarded as a lower efficacy disease-modifying therapy, though there were less options at that time. However, he was able to recover and return to play professionally and pitched 3 more years in the majors, rounding out a very nice career. Number 2, Lina Nielsen. This elite sprinter and hurdler had symptoms of MS at only 13 years old, although she wasn't formally diagnosed until 4 years later at age 17. Her first symptoms were weakness in the left arm, and she also had symptoms like double vision and vertigo, and she even once had numbness in the abdomen right before a major competitive race. Determined not to let MS disrupt her athletic dreams, she continued training and improving, and in 2021, she won gold in the European Championships in the 400-meter hurdles event, and 3 years later, in 2024, in the Olympics, she won bronze as part of the 4x400-meter Olympic relay team for Great Britain. She's also the British women's record holder in the indoor 300-meter running event. Number 3, believe it or not, Lina has an identical twin sister who is also an Olympic medalist and also has multiple sclerosis, Lina Nielsen. She was diagnosed with MS much later in 2022 at age 25. At 2024 in the Olympics, she came home with 2 bronze medals, one with her sister in the 4x400 meter relay team and another in the 4x400 mixed relay team. According to a video published by Matt Embry in August 2024 and by the BBC, neither twin takes disease-modifying therapy or medication for MS, as they're concerned about the side effects and prefer to go the natural route, focusing on diet and lifestyle. Matt Embry runs the MS Hope charity, which advocates a diet which is low in saturated fat and also gluten-free and dairy-free and low in processed foods. It's not clear to me from researching social media that the twins follow this specific dietary plan. Number 4, Trevor Bayne. This retired NASCAR driver started racing go-karts at only age 5 and competed avidly in his youth with over 300 wins and 18 local state and track championships. He eventually moved up the ranks and made it to the big time and became the youngest person ever to win the Daytona 500, considered to be the marquee racing event in the United States, only 1 day after his 20th birthday. However, only a few years later, in 2013, in the prime of his career, he developed symptoms of nausea, double vision, and numbness of the left arm and was diagnosed with MS. His younger sister also has the condition. However, he improved and continued to race professionally for several years. You may not think driving is as athletic as some of these other sports, but they say you do have to be in great shape, and also the heat of the car could temporarily worsen the symptoms of MS, making it especially difficult. Now, Trevor is married with 5 children, and after he retired from professional racing, he actually opened up a coffee shop and coffee roasting business, and also did some professional instruction for racing and worked as a NASCAR analyst for Fox News. In a 2025 interview I watched with Trevor, he states that he was actually diagnosed with CIS, or clinically isolated syndrome. This refers to a situation where someone has a single demyelinating event, a single event of inflammation in the central nervous system, but does not meet the diagnostic criteria for multiple sclerosis. I personally wouldn't use this term CIS, and it turns out most people historically diagnosed with CIS would meet the modern diagnostic criteria criteria for multiple sclerosis. I can't comment on his specific situation. He reports that he's never taken disease-modifying therapy for MS, and he's had periodic MRI scans which have been stable and has been essentially symptom-free except for an episode of brief leg tingling, which may not have even been related to MS. And it's implied that this was sort of the recommendation of his physician to not take medication, maybe because it was unclear if he needed it, and he's done well and stated it never really seemed to affect his racing career. Number 5, Kadina Cox. An athlete in her youth, she played hockey and competed in sprinting, and she even broke the 12-second barrier in the 100-meter sprint as a junior. However, in 2013, she developed symptoms and was diagnosed with a stroke. It's unclear to me if this diagnosis was spurious, as she was subsequently diagnosed with MS. Some of her early symptoms included burning in the right arm and leg. She also reported symptoms like fatigue, muscle spasms, and bladder problems. Some of her social media posts suggest she has had significant mobility problems, and after a major relapse in 2023, she started using the MS medication Kesimpta, which is considered to be a higher efficacy drug. It depletes B lymphocytes, and it can cause infections as it is an immunosuppressant. Unable to compete at the highest level due to her disability, she transitioned to training for the Paralympics and has won a total of 7 Paralympic medals, 5 gold, 1 silver, and 1 bronze, both in sprinting and in sprint cycling. Incredible that she could do it in 2 very different sports. She's also the former world record holder in the T38 classification for the 400-meter sprint. Number 6, Brian Bickle. This NHL hockey forward played for the Chicago Blackhawks and Carolina Hurricanes. At 6'4", he was known to use his size, battling against the boards for the puck, and he wasn't afraid to throw down, if you know what I mean. He's a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, and he's known to be a top playoff performer. In fact, in 2013, in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final, he scored the game-tying goal, and only 17 seconds later, the winning and series-clinching goal was scored, and this sequence is simply known as 17 seconds, one of the most famous sequences in NHL history. Bickle was diagnosed with MS after having dizziness and impaired coordination in 2016 and has used the medication Tysabri. I'll also note that former NHL goalies Josh Harding and Jonathan Sigalay also had MS. Number 7, Don McNeal. This NFL cornerback became a legend even in college. He played for the famous coach Bear Bryant for the Alabama team and was part of the 1978 and 1979 national championship teams, and he even made a famous tackle at the goal line as part of the 1979 title defense in that famous goal line stand. He played 9 NFL seasons, all with the Miami Dolphins, and was known for his speed and determination, and he appeared in the Super Bowl twice, though the Dolphins lost both times in 1983 and 1985. He first developed symptoms of MS in 2003 when he fell down while jogging and noticed he had weakness in one of his legs. Later on, he had progression of disability and needed to use an electric scooter, but still remained optimistic and volunteered at a local school and spent time raising money for MS charity. Number 8, Chris Wright. He's known as the only person with multiple sclerosis ever to play in the National Basketball Association. His symptoms began in 2012 when he developed tingling in the right foot, which then spread to his right arm, followed by significant weakness, and at his nadir, he couldn't walk at all, let alone play competitive basketball. He was treated by the well-known MS specialist Dr. Heidi Creighton and used medications such as Tysabri and Mavenclad, which are modern high-efficacy disease-modifying therapies. He was able to improve and play professionally for several more years, mostly internationally, but he also appeared briefly in the NBA. He's now retired. I should also note that some of my own patients are great athletes. One of my patients was diagnosed as a teenager, but went on to play college football at a competitive Division I school. One of my patients had very severe aggressive multiple sclerosis and was walking with a walker for several months, but slowly improved improved and was actually able to start running and eventually ran the LA Marathon in a very competitive time. One of my other patients was a competitive semi-pro professional hockey player, and there are many examples of elite athletes on social media, such as Connor Devine, who has MS and has completed multiple Ironman races, so you can be an athlete with MS. If you enjoy sports or have been a competitive athlete and have multiple sclerosis, please share your experiences in the comments below, and if there are any notable professionals who are famous that I overlooked, please also share that in the comments below, and let me know if you have ideas for some other videos.